the 5th of November. Is that correct, Eddie?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, at 5:01 p.m.
And we're officially recording.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. If you're watching on Facebook Live, feel free to put comments in there. Eddie, our vice chair, will be moderating those comments. Any of those of you that are in the waiting room coming on to speak, you can either stay in the waiting room. You can also watch us live on Facebook on the Human Rights page. All right, let's do roll call. Scott Davies. Monique Desier Harper.
Present.
Thank you. Aaron Rowe.
Here.
Larry Miller.
Here.
Carol Larson. Bird Lochte. Eddie Morgan.
Here.
And David Haney. All right, well, we've got 5 of us, so we have a quorum. We'll keep moving on. Now, Eddie, I see a couple of our guests on the main screen. Is that?
Yeah, and I can put them back in the waiting room. I just wanted to kind of get a feel for it, and we'll just put them back in the waiting room. So
All right.
There we go. Bird Lochte is here.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh.
And so,
All right.
hey, Bondwin, we'll put in the waiting room.
She'll go.
All right, well, let's dive in. Commissioners, the first thing on the agenda is going over the minutes. And is Bird on in here? Because she is so important. There
Yes,
she
is.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just had my grocery delivery, and I will do the minutes, and then I have to go put some frozen things in my freezer.
Okay, well, we'll forgive you, but
Let's do the minutes. Let me get them here.
all right, and you'll make it back for the speakers, right?
I'll be back right away, but I just have to get the frozen stuff. I can't leave it for 2 hours.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks, Bird. Oh, what's going on? So commissioners, hold on. Sorry, I'm having technical issues. Has everyone been able to review the minutes? And these are David's first set of minutes. So any positive feedback to help him, I'm sure, is welcomed. But keep in mind that this is the first time that he has done this.
Right. I know. They're great. The minutes are great. They're just a few little things. On the October 1st meeting, I think there was just one thing there under C, sanctuary ordinance standing. I sent an email of contacts for potential contact for potential interpreters. I didn't send all of the interpreters, just the contact for you, so you could get them from him. So it should say sent email of contact for potential interpreters.
Okay, David, do you got that?
He's muted.
Oh, Eddie, can we unmute David?
Yes. Sorry about that. That should not. You should be able to.
I wonder why it was so quiet.
Everybody.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, he has power. He has the power.
I do. Thank you to the both of you, Bird and Lelania. I do have that. I've got that change is going to be Bird Lochte sent email of contact for potential interpreters.
Right. And then on the last page under listening sessions, number 2, it should be in each region. Take the S off regions.
Thank you, Bird.
You know that I'm really picky.
It's good.
You're finding it out, aren't you? And then on the special meeting, in the last portion, the 3, there's a sentence that says money is locked up in HAF accounts at the moment. That is not what we said. she had already been given the money.
Okay, and my apologies for my misunderstanding.
Yeah, well, and maybe I wasn't very clear about it, but because I think somebody asked that and we said, no, she has the money.
Gotcha.
So
I
that-
will make that change on
Yeah,
there
just
too.
take that out. And
That will be changed. Thank you.
if no one has any other changes, I move the adoption of the minutes for September 3rd, October 1, and October 21 be approved as amended.
Okay, do we have a second? Eddie, were you seconding?
Aaron is seconding.
Aaron is, boy, I can't see everybody. That's kind of not good for me here.
Get to gallery view. Put yourself in gallery view.
There you go.
Am I in gallery view?
You should be.
You are for me, but you have to put yourself in that.
Right, I have this thing blocking me. Okay, here we are. Okay, there we go. All right, now I can see everybody. That was, all right, thank you, Bird. All right, Aaron, second that. Do we have a discussion? No, all right, all those in favor, please raise your hand and I'll call your name out. Okay, Eddie Morgan, yes. Lelania Dubois, yes. Yes. Larry,
Yes.
Aaron Rowe, David Haney, Bird Lochte, Monique. All right, and I got a thumbs up from Monique. Any nays? Any abstentions? All right, the minutes are passed as per Bird's recommendations. And thank you, both of you.
And thank you, David. You're doing a great job. Just because there are a few little typos, don't think you're not doing a good job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Bird. No, I appreciate it. This work has got to be dialed and right on. That way, if they look at it, it's perfect. So I appreciate the feedback and the support there. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, that was really a really good job, David, because Bird is really tough.
I wanted to try to have it as dialed as I could.
Well, I do have to tell you, I served on a school board for 8 years and they always laughed at me. But if a comma was in the wrong place, sometimes that made a huge difference in what was happening or what was planned. And your minutes have to be correct, no matter what it is. So I'm a pretty good proofreader.
Yes. Thank you, Bird.
And now I'm going to disappear for just a few minutes, but I'll be back as quickly as I can. Okay?
Okay. Bird, do you have any adjustments to the agenda before you go?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. That's our next agenda item. Are there any adjustments? Hi, Marianne. Good to see you. All right. Are there any adjustments to the agenda, anyone?
Sorry I'm late.
That's
Lots of
okay.
live chats, Did Bird leave us? Was she here and now she left? Is that?
She was here, now she left, and she will be back.
Perfect. Okay, good. I would love to chat her.
Yeah.
I don't know a couple people here. I don't know Monique. Hi,
Okay, well,
David.
we're digging. We have a really strong agenda and we have 4
Yeah.
guests waiting to present. So let's just keep rolling
I
through.
agree.
Okay, thank you. All right, so no adjustments to the agenda. All right, we'll move to the next item, which all our speakers are actually speaking on items that are on the agenda. Do we have any public comment, Eddie?
No, just a couple love yous, doing great. Thanks for sharing. No public comments that I see. Point. Let me check one more place real quick. There we go. Nope, no public comments.
Okay, let's move forward to our next items. Commissioners communications. I will start. We got a few emails. We got an interesting email from a Dr. Cliff Cheng. He is looking into hate crimes and human relations in different communities. And I actually referred him to the sheriff's department to see if they had any information, because I told them that as of yet, we did not, as a commission, have any information along those lines. And I also asked him to circle back with us after he spoke to him, because if there was anything that he learned of that we didn't know about, that we would very much like to have that information. We also got another.
Delaney, if I may add, and I may have misheard you, but I just wanted to add that I think that he was asking for specifically abuses related to Asian Americans and anti-Asian American racism.
Yes, you are absolutely correct.
And I'm going to put that in the minutes.
Okay. Good. No, absolutely. So I'm hoping that we will hear back from him, because I would love to know what his research is he finds up here. Because we do have a large Asian population, or a fairly significant Asian population. When I monitored the call line for the first 2 weeks, and we had a call from a student at College of the Redwoods. I actually invited him to come and speak during public comment tonight, or it's also an agenda item, but I don't see him in the queue. Hopefully maybe he'll show up. But he was a young man that felt that he was expelled because of racial issues, and felt that the security department at CR was racially biased, and that there were more students at the school experiencing those kind of problems. So I was hoping he would come so we could kind of ask more questions, but unfortunately he didn't. So we'll just move through that. Do any of the other commissioners have any communications or announcements or anything that they would like to bring up? Hey, Larry.
Hi, yeah, I was gonna go back to the gentleman that was contacting the sheriff's department. On our ad hoc committee, I've been speaking and working with Peter Kress, who is the training officer for the sheriff. And I've got a number, if that would help, if he comes back to you, you could give him this number.
For the
training officer of the sheriff's department.
Okay, yes, I would love that. Should we give that? We should probably wait to hand that number out, or is that a public number?
Okay.
Yeah, let's wait. Maybe what you do is get the number to David, so we could get that in the minutes. Okay, Eddie, I'm seeing all our speakers on our screen. Is there a way that we can keep them in the waiting room?
Yes, there is. Let me put them back in there. I just yeah, don't worry. I'll do that. So you can continue. I'll put them in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you. And I see someone who might have wanted to participate in public comment, but hopefully there's an agenda item that she can. Okay, I'm getting lost because there's all these faces on here. I'm sorry. Okay, I think Bird. So Larry, you're going to get us that number so we can get it to the gentleman doing the research. Right? Okay.
How about I email you it?
Okay, thank you. Bird?
I think everyone should try to look at the article that was in today's Time Standard. It's another view written by someone from Cal Matters, which is in Los Angeles County, but it is talking about reforming the Brown Act to enhance transparency and public access, which is exactly what we're talking about doing. And I think if we all read it, it might give us some good ideas of how we should proceed. And it's also something that we could use as resource when we go to the Board of Supervisors. So it's Time Standard today, and it was on page, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, page 4.
So that is actually something that we got a letter from Access Humboldt, but it was too late for us to address it, the time frame, and they just wanted to make sure that we were aware of what's going on. Is that exact issue. So Sean said that he was going to come to us with more of that later, so that, you know, he was hoping that we could partner with them on that. He didn't go into details, but he was hoping that when he was ready, he would approach us in that exact conversation.
This is specifically about the Brown Act, not just the
Oh, I
Act.
see.
This is specifically the Brown Act, which we've talked about, perhaps giving some recommendation to the Board of Supervisors at some point. So I think everybody should try to take a look at it and read it.
Okay. Do you feel that we should consider making recommendations around it?
Well, no, as we're moving ahead with what we are talking about recommending, it's something that will enhance what we're doing and be a resource coming from another part of California that other people are looking at the same thing we are, which gives us a lot more validity, I think, in bringing it forward to our Board of Supervisors.
Got it. All right. Mary Ann?
On that note, I agree with you completely, Bird, because I think that we should be able to ask the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors to fund us having our Zoom moving forward throughout time, as well as other things that make us be able to communicate and move forward with the new addendums that are coming forward in the Brown Act. I agree completely. And I think that finding an outside source like you did will only bolster the ability for us to ask for the funds to make sure that we have a Zoom account that's paid for by the county, for example, or so that we have other accesses like better cameras or whatever it is that we might need to move forward. You know what I mean? So awesome. I'm glad you found that. Send it to us. I would love to see it.
Yes, we did ask the Board of Supervisors if they would support our Zoom account, and we were told no.
Right. I'm talking about for next year. Next year, we're
Right,
going to build on next.
Aaron was next, and then Bird. Aaron, can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, Bird, I'm having trouble finding that article because the online section, I can't tell where page 4 is. It doesn't look like there's 4. What is the title of it?
The title is Reform Brown Act to Enhance Transparency, Public Access. I will scan it and send it I'll send it to you, Lelania, and you send it to everyone.
Well, thank you, Bird. I appreciate that.
I'll do that. Then you don't have to spend time looking for it.
Okay. All right. I'm excited about that. Being disabled, it means more accessibility and all sorts of things for me. So I love that part of COVID. All right. So do we have any other communications or announcements that we want to give at this time? No? Okay. Thanks, David. I saw your post there. All right, let's move on to the message line. We have December, we need to fill some spots. Do we, first of all, go ahead, Bird.
I already volunteered for December 1st to the 15th last month.
Oh, you did? Okay. I volunteered for January 1st through 15th.
And I think somebody did volunteer for the rest of December. Let me see if I got that. Yes, David did.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so David, you're the 16th through the 31st. So do we have anyone who can do January 15th through the 31st?
Oh,
Sure, I'll do it.
Larry, thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. All right. Carol is not with us. David, did you have the message line? Do you have anything to report from the message line? Or no, that's Scott. That's not, I'm seeing Davis. Okay. And I reported what I had to report. And Carol is not with us. Eddie, did you did some work on the line this month? Did you see anything that I'm missing that's significant?
no, just there's one situation where I'm intentionally not mentioning any names or anything like that, but the relatives of a person in the correctional facility called, made a meeting with the person, and then we'll check in a week to see if it's been remedied and write a report. So that's the only thing that's open right now.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, if nothing else, we can move on to the treasurer's report. Mary.
Hi, guys. Slow but steady wins the race. I'll start with the balance. The balance in the account right now is $756.40. There's been some movement made forward. I have a debit card, which I haven't gotten to use yet because I haven't had any reason to pay anything. But I think it's working. I've ordered new checks because one of the confusions when I tried to make a online checking account was that these checks were older and the Umpqua Bank had changed the routing number. So Umpqua Bank helped me fix that, and I'm ordering new checks so that we have those, although we don't use them that often. There's going to be new signatory cards. The way that that's going to work for the secretary, the president, vice president, and myself, I'm already on one. But it takes setting up. If any of you already bank with Umpqua, that's super helpful, but you don't have to share that you do. But if you don't, then he's setting everything up, the manager of the bank, and then once it's all set up and he's ready, then I will send an email out to you guys and you can call him to make an appointment, because he has to go in and set up a profile with you. So you have to bring your ID and everything. It's a whole big process. But then that we'll get all the signature cards done. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yay! Glad that's done.
It's going to take another month to get it all figured out. It's so convoluted, and losing Jim right afterwards just made it take much longer. And there's still time to go. And he's fixing the, I forgot to mention that part. I did talk to them today, and they're going to send all communication through the email we discussed, the county email. And then, but I am using, because I needed a cell phone for when they send a text, so you guys can use my cell phone number, and I'll put that in there. So I don't know what else to do, because we had to have a way for them to send a text to do stuff. I don't know why.
No, I think that's
so the
great.
next, yeah, so a future treasurer we could change it. So I figured all that out too.
Let's put that, you know how we have that sheet with all the information of the category. Let's put that in.
You know what? No, because I want to sit next to you. Like today when I was with Lelania, I understood it a lot more because we've been sending emails saying go there. So actually we'll just do a little Zoom together and we'll look at it and you'll tell me where to go and I'll be like, thank you, 10 minutes. And I feel like 10 million times younger. You know what I mean, Eddie? So that would be really helpful. Because I also want to get the Zoom account transferred over so we can, so those things. So Eddie, let's you and I set up a meeting like sometime in the next week, because we talked about doing that already.
Yes.
That would help the treasurer a lot.
All right, I'll definitely do that next week. That's not gonna, I won't be as busy. So yes, Monday or Tuesday, consider it done.
Okay, that would be great. Other than that, life is good. And hi, Bird.
Hi.
My treasurer mentor, haven't seen him in a while. Okay.
All
Carry
right.
on, guys.
Thank you, Mary Ann. I appreciate, we all appreciate it. All right, next are the reports. Correctional Facility Liaison, Eddie.
Okay, so I might have jumped the gun because I was talking about the person that called, the parents called and had a meeting and still working on it. But I think the issue is resolved and we'll be able to close it soon. So that's, and I just don't want to mention any names or anything like that because it is somebody.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Correctional facility. But the bottom line is parents called, they were concerned that individual was cold, talked to individual, they said yes, there were some times, but then talked again, seems the issue has been resolved. I just want to put another call in or actually meet in person to make sure the situation closed, and I'll write the report. But right now, this does not seem to be an issue. Larry, you had a question or you had your hand up?
Larry?
Yeah, I'm just curious. We've had, I know when I was on the phone a while ago, there was a lady that had called from the jail, and subsequent to that, I've heard there was another one or two calls. Is that correct? We've now had like 3 calls from the jail since we got started?
Yes, but there's only 2 of them that I think are in there. The other one is old and the person's not there anymore. So,
Gotcha.
Since
All right,
Jim
thank you.
has left,
I need,
oh, and there's another thing I need to report. Right now I'm the only one that has the certificate or the thing to be able to visit somebody. I highly recommend that we have someone else that can also visit the facility.
No, I'm the other one. I'm
But
the
you have
one
to do the form, Mary.
you
So,
have to get yeah, Mary, you have to
I
get
am registered. I did the form and got registered. When
okay.
you did at the same time, I got registered too.
All right. So why don't you send? Do you have the letter they sent back to you or something?
Jim was in charge of all that. I'll talk to Jim about it because.
Okay, all right, fair. Yeah,
I got
do that.
approved and you got approved so I could go to the women's side.
We want to keep that in the docs. Yeah, yes, Larry.
I'll find it. So
I
I
was
am
gonna say-
approved.
What was
I
that,
was gonna
Larry?
say that I'd be happy to back up somebody if necessary, and I've also been cleared, so that should not be a problem. They could be able to run my name and I should be in. And if not, I'll be happy to reapply or whatever. It seems like I fill out an application, and it was about the time that Jim was. I think it was about the time that Eddie came on.
Okay.
Right. It was the
So,
time Eddie came on. They just wanted one man for the man side and one woman for the woman's side. That's the only thing that the jail approved at that time. And that's why you couldn't do it as well, Larry. I remember that whole conversation. So Eddie got approved and I got approved because I'm a female, and you couldn't get approved because they only wanted one female and one male at the time. But maybe they'll.
I'm just saying, how
I think
backup.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have as many as we can have, it sounds like, at this point in time. And Mary, you just need to get the paperwork so we know that you're covered. Right, that's where we're at. All right, let's move forward to our next meeting, which is the Human Trafficking Committee. Bird and I have a few brief updates, and then we have one of our grant recipients to present all the hard work she's been doing, Katrina Sims Taylor from EPI. Bird, would you like to give an update first, or do you think we should hear Katrina's presentation first? Oh, is that Katrina first? All right, Katrina, yay, she's on. I see you.
I'm asking her to unmute.
Hi, Katrina.
Hi, everybody. Okay,
There we are.
can you see me?
We can see you.
You see my wonderful virtual background?
I can. Makes me want to travel.
Right. I need you guys to go, please. Okay, so I am giving you an update as to where we are. Shut my door, please.
Well, if you could give a brief overview of, the 3 different components you've put together, which was the phone line and the resource page, and then the ad.
Okay. So initially last year we put together a database that compiled everybody's phone number in one particular place that would be accessible to those service providers who worked with the trafficked individuals. I since then have had a wonderful mentor who has been guiding me through an even better platform than what I created. And so that has been an ongoing process. Luckily, he knows what I'm doing because I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, so also that was included with the development this year of a hotline.
Hold on, Katrina. I'm sorry. Is there someone's phone that could everyone put themselves on mute but Katrina? because there's a loud buzzing coming through and we can't hear her. Thank you. All right, Katrina, thank you.
So this year there was a hotline that was developed, and it is specifically manned by myself with the hopes of training other volunteers. So far, I have had 27 direct calls from the bus ad that was launched on the back of bus number 61 of HTA. We also have distributed over 100 informational brochures that we have every single HTA bus has one displayed inside of their bus. There's one at McKinleyville Office Supply, 3 at Red Lion, Eureka Natural Foods, the Great Western, all of Coast Central's banks, United Indian Health, Indianola Market, and Seroptimus have recently just distributed more. And as with that being said, they just contacted me requesting more. So that means that there will be another 100 printed and laminated. They're not just printed, they're printed and laminated so that those that are maybe outside, posted outside, will be able to withstand the elements.
Wow, great job. And you probably did most of that distribution yourself, didn't you?
I did. I did. The only ones that I did not distribute myself were those that that were placed in each individual bus at HTA. I just took them there. And also the recent distribution between the different Seroptimus clubs. I have gotten them to the Seroptimus head person, but I have not distributed them past there. And that was 25 of them.
Okay, well, great job. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Katrina?
I just want to say, great job. You've done a lot of work. Thank you.
I copy that.
Yeah, Katrina, I mean, really, it's been amazing watching you build all this in the past couple years and see it like happening. It really is. Great job.
You guys make me feel like I want to cry because I have not been the best of a student, and you guys have taught me well, and I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate having community members going out there and like pounding the pavement the way you do. It's what makes this place so great. Most definitely. Bird, since we have no questions or discussions, thank you, Katrina. You might want to stay on for just a minute, and you're welcome to stay on for the whole meeting, of course. But if you wouldn't mind staying on until we finish discussing this agenda item, we'd appreciate it. Bird, do you have any do you want to update on the Girl Scout?
Yes. We talked with Skydra. We had a meeting, the committee had a meeting with her. The Girl Scouts extended her deadline for her project to September of 2021. And we had the commission extended her grant to September 21. And I sent her an email telling her that, and I got an email back from her thanking us and very appreciative of our flexibility and working with her. And I had also said that at some point we would want her to report to us and maybe to the Board of Supervisors. And she said that she would be happy at any time to speak to us and the board. So when we are ready, we can put her on the agenda and she will come and give us an update of what she's doing. She feels now that she will be able to finish her project. It won't be exactly as she had planned it in the beginning, but she's also working with other Girl Scouts from the council and not just Humboldt County, and feels that she's going to be able to do something with her project that will be similar, but different, of course, because of COVID.
Thanks, Bird. Does anyone have any questions for Bird? No? All right. And then the last thing we have to discuss is, and that's why I wanted Katrina to stay on. Katrina, can you just real briefly talk about the ad and why our logo isn't on it so we can move forward from that? Because we haven't had that discussion with the commission at all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
There was initially when I began discussion with so HTA contracts out their printing that they do with the ads with the buses at HTA to a gentleman by the name of Chuck Edwards who runs Ads in Motion. There was a huge miscommunication or maybe misunderstanding as to how the original ad was supposed to be. The original ad was supposed to have a different Seroptimus logo. It was supposed to include the Humboldt County's Board of Supervisor or the Humboldt County's logo. And that it was supposed to have a bigger phone number or more at a visible phone number. Without approval, the ad had began to run on the back of bus number 61. Through extensive emails back and forth, we were told that that the logo would be modified and that, the ad would be modified and that the Board of Supervisors logo would be, Humboldt County's logo would be included and Seroptimus logo would be changed. The agreement was that if we didn't want it changed, he would run the ad for free. And that if he did change it, then he would go with our original modified specified amount that we agreed upon. We were told that it was changed. We had began paying him and we back paid him. And then we had a wonderful photo opportunity where several key players in the facilitation of this Board of Supervisors were invited. Humboldt Area Foundation was invited. Myself, Human Rights Commission was invited. Seroptimus was invited. And we get to the back of the bus and it had not been changed. So through various emails, the individual has stated he didn't know that it wasn't changed. I have sent stop payment because that's not the agreement. And I have all of these emails specifically saved so that if it ever comes back, I have worked very, very hard to frustration and also to pure excitement that it even did come about. So I believe I've done what I could. I don't know where to go from here.
You did it. It sounds like you did do all you could do. You've tracked it. You've come and you reported it to us. You've taken accountability. You've tried to solve the problem every way you could. And unfortunately, someone didn't listen somewhere. But it definitely, you did everything you could do to get the proper ad out there. What's great to hear, Katrina, is that you're getting phone calls from it, and that is the most important thing. And when we go back to the Board of Supervisors, we get to say that, right? And then it won't be such a big deal, you know, because it's working that the county logo isn't on there. But next time we'll just be able to make sure it is. Thank you for all you do.
It's been a prototype for sure.
All right, does anyone have any discussion around the Human Trafficking Fund? Bird.
Yeah, I just, Katrina, do you have a log or a record of all of these phone calls that you're getting?
I do, however, they don't stay. I have, when they come in, like they stay for the month and then they renew. So I do have a log, but I guess I should be printing them out monthly. Great
Yeah.
idea.
Yes, because that's the kind of thing that if anybody challenges us, they say, show us that you've got 22 calls. If you have that log, that's a very good thing to have.
Katrina, I'm sorry. Katrina, we're supposed to meet. I think there's something we can do where I could just show you how you can transfer that log into your system, and that way you can keep it on your on your shared drive. So just make a note of that, and we can.
And that could be a part of your monthly report, that Google form that we send you, Katrina. You can just add it right into that.
Yeah, let's work on that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, it doesn't sound, oh, and I wanted to just update us on the balance of the fund. It's at $4,796.77 is where we're at with it now. And that's about it. All right, shall we move on to, there's nothing, our last standing committee is the Sanctuary Ordinance Standing Committee. There's nothing to report back on that yet. And we're hoping that our listening sessions will help our community better connect with that conversation. Some of the commissioners have been sending out a lot of emails. Thank you, David. I know Bird sent some out. So hopefully we'll get a lot of diverse voices and one, help help communicate to our Latinos that there is a place to come and give these reports. All right, now we're on to our ad hoc committees, and I want to start with the Cannabis Inquiry Ad Hoc Committee, because we have 3 guests this evening that are going to present to us. But before we do that, yes, I will in just a moment. But before we do that, I wanted to give us some of the numbers that we're getting from our survey, and let you guys know where we're at with that and give you a brief update. So right now, the International Cannabis Farmers Association has been great in supporting us. They've been putting our press release and our links in their bi-weekly agendas, because they have statewide calls twice a week, and it's on those agendas. KMUD did an interview with us, which is actually where I got to meet our next guests and invited them to come speak to us. We spoke really briefly on the Human Rights Commission and what we were doing with this inquiry. We have a PSA that I think it's on its last draft, or it might be in my inbox. I don't know. David and I have been working on that. And then we sent a press release out to all media agencies in the area. We did a small an outside newspaper or an outside news source did a small article on it. That news source is called Weed Week. It was posted in our Facebook page. And then I wanted to give you some numbers. So right now we have about 60% of the folks that have answered the survey say that their livelihood has been impacted, their life has been impacted by cannabis. 31% of those surveyed said that they have not ever been involved in cannabis. 13.2% has been houseless of that that we have surveyed. There's about a 50-50% of who will remain in Humboldt and who is considering leaving Humboldt in the next 4 years. 55% of those that have been surveyed have their income has decreased in the past 4 years. 76% of those we surveyed have used medical cannabis. 70% of those feel they have access. 41% of those surveyed feel they have had their human rights violated around cannabis. So that's where we're at right now. I didn't pull out all the numbers. I just pulled out ones that made sense at this point, because we really need to keep pushing that survey out. And we're hoping that, again, our town hall meeting and listening sessions is going to help us get more, more outreach around that. So we have a couple guests. Yes, Bird.
I think I sent you that email about the fact that Time Standard is going to be having a survey on cannabis. Did you
So
see
that actually,
and I wondered if there's a way that the ad hoc committee can work with them or get results from them or cooperate, or somehow if there's another survey out there, it seems silly not to be getting everything together.
so you're right. That is, I looked into it, and it's not the Time Standard that's doing it. It's actually a California Marketing Association that's doing it. California Marketing, I think, is the name of the group, and it's really geared for marketing information. That's not what we're looking for in our survey. So it's very different kind of what they're trying to gather, but I sent them an email. I couldn't find a number, and I sent them an email in hopes that we could start a conversation and see if there is something like that, because we don't want to assume, of course. But thank you for sending that, Bird. Any other discussion around the survey or any of those numbers? Do we have any public comment?
Not pertaining to the subject that you were talking about, Lelena.
Okay.
Somebody says hi. No, nothing. No, nothing.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not, if anyone, all right, thank you. All right, well, we have some guests this evening that are going to help us kind of wrap our heads around this discussion a little more. We have Dr. Van Buskik, Heike Ellen Golden Botwich, and Michael Polson, and I'm sure I did a horrible job. I apologize.
Yeah, can you
and the
slow
three
down?
of them have been working.
Can you give me those names one more time? Because I have a bunch of people in the waiting room.
Yes, I'll give you their Van, Heike, and Michael are who we want to let in now.
Aren't we public and anybody can be on the line?
Yeah.
Yes, but we're trying to keep it organized, Bird, on the screen.
But if they're in the waiting room, they can't hear us, can they?
Yeah, they're being let in right now.
Okay.
All right, I see Van and Heike. Can we get them off mute, Eddie?
That works.
Welcome. Okay, my screen's going wacky. Okay, can we get, I see Sean, good Lord. Hi, Van, thank you so much for joining us. Would you mind giving the commission kind of a real quick, brief background, and then whatever the two of you have put together? And then we'd like to ask you, I have a few questions, and I'm sure after the commissioners, you know, a lot of us, some of us have an extensive experience in the cannabis industry, but a lot of us don't, even though we live here. So really, you are going to be the first time a lot of these commissioners have heard a lot of the things that research that you have discovered, or information you have discovered in your research. We are a human rights commission, so that's kind of our focus. But I was hoping you could just give us a brief kind of what you've done in the past, and then if you have any perspective around our subject matter. And then I have a few questions, and I'm sure the commissioners will as well.
Sure. So maybe I'll just give a brief introduction and then I think Hekia will take it over. And I don't know if there's someone named Michael Poulsen in the waiting room or not, but I think he had planned to join as well.
No,
Eddie,
I have a
Nope.
Sarah Blaster and Carol Larson. Those are the other two people I have.
Okay.
oh, can you let Carol in? She's one of our commissioners.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know what, there you go. She's in.
Okay, so if Michael pops up, just let him in, Eddie. Thank you.
All right. As long as he's not Sarah, then yes, I'll let him in.
All right, Van, you have the floor, and then Hekia will have the floor.
Sure, sounds good. So I'm Van Butzik. I'm a cooperative extension specialist at UC Berkeley, and I've been doing research on cannabis for about the last 5 years or so, with a lot of that work focusing on the North Coast and Humboldt County in particular. Over that time, we've looked at a lot of issues surrounding land use and a lot of issues surrounding compliance. And I think what Hekia is going to primarily present about tonight is going to be sort of on the compliance piece. So why are people complying with regulations and why are they not a little bit? And some of the equity sort of implications of that. Yeah, I don't know. Hekia, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah, so I have some slides that might be helpful for just guiding some of the discussion. If I can share my screen, if that's
Yes, you should be able to share your screen.
okay, great. So can folks see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Hold on.
There you go. You're good. You're in.
Right. Yeah, the work that I'll be talking about here is based on a survey that we did of cannabis farmers in 2019 regarding why they were and were not participating in the state's legalization initiative. We were interested in developing this study because we know that many farmers are not joining the legal market, especially at that time, but it's not clear why. And we were interested in better understanding the extent to which there might be barriers that we could remove to make entrance to the legal market easier. So just to give a quick overview, our methods that we used to do research with humans that is approved by the university. You have to have human subjects approval from the institutional review board. So we had that approved. We piloted this survey with cultivators, and the survey went online June through August of 2019. We distributed it through farmer organizations who sent it out to their listservs. We also distributed to a list of license holders that we obtained from the state, almost 6,000 licenses, based on, or that we gathered through PRA requests from the water board, who have a list of all the cultivators who've ever started the process. We distributed hard copies of the survey in grocery stores around the North Coast, and Humboldt included, and the survey was also available online. The majority of respondents responded online. We found that over 350 farmers completed the full survey, 362, although we got responses, partial responses from over 700, I think. And I have to correct me on that, but yeah, we had over 362 farmers complete the full survey. Just to give some background characteristics, respondents were generally married, white, educated, male, and middle-aged. And they'd been the average, or the longest amount, or the most respondents indicated that they had been growing cannabis for 16 to 23 years. We asked about compliance through the question of whether or not you applied for a permit. We found that approximately 1/3 of respondents received permits, 1/3 were pending approval, and 1/3 did not apply. And just to note, this is, so our study is not necessarily representative of, you know, the broader cannabis population, because we don't know how many people are actually out there growing cannabis. So it's not, we don't know what percentage of that group actually responded to our survey. So this is just within those who responded, we had 1/3 who were certainly out of compliance. And then we had this other 1/3 pending approval who, you know, maybe they're gonna go through the process, maybe not clear. Most of the farmers who responded were outdoor cultivators. So farmers, applicants and non-applicants reported similar environmental practices across all permit statuses. So the different colors that you're looking at are whether someone was approved for a permit, pending approval, or not applied. And we asked farmers about the extent to which they engaged in these various environmental practices, and both applicants and non-applicants indicated that they engaged in the majority of these practices for at least 50% of the time. Again, this is the groups who responded to our survey. The majority of farmers who did not apply for permits in our survey sample produced less than 100 pounds in 2018. And 1/3 of farmers who did not apply received over 50% of their income from cannabis. So we're kind of starting to characterize who these non-applicants within our study sample are as being smaller farmers who maybe have some sort of employment off farm as well, and who at least perceive themselves as engaging in environmentally friendly practices. So why didn't they apply? Well, they said cost was the primary barrier to compliance. The folks also reported that they felt there was little county incentives to comply, and that some people felt that there's more opportunities in the unregulated market. We asked farmers kind of to break apart some of the costs of compliance, and we found that farmers spent more to come into compliance than they spent on permits and fees. So I think this finding is particularly significant for thinking about kind of your legacy farmers, right? Who've been cultivating in a particular region, and have to kind of make a bunch of upgrades to their farm in order to come into compliance, that can be prohibitively expensive, and such processes, unless they have some sort of support, are going to end up in turn likely favoring larger operations or better resourced operations that can choose to locate their farms in regions that are more amenable to cultivation. So hilly landscapes can pose particular challenges for cannabis farmers to come into regulatory compliance if you have streams that cut through your property and have to put culverts in place, or dams constructions or upgrade roads, and that can, at least for some farmers in our survey, were processes that appeared to be prohibitively expensive. And farmers felt that the costs of coming into compliance were not necessarily offset by opportunities in the regulated market. So folks did not think, folks who did not apply did not necessarily feel they could make a living in the regulated market. Unclear information also posed a barrier to compliance. This was felt across the board by those who applied and those who did not apply. Interestingly enough, there was statistically significant differences between the farmers who did not apply and those who did, and the amount of outreach that people received. So those who did not apply actually received less outreach from various organizations, across the board here than those who did apply, with the sheriff actually being the exception. Yeah, so outreach seems to make a difference, and farmers reported the most outreach from county ag and planning departments, the water board, and farmer associations and consultants. Farmers also reported little enforcement. The most enforcement that they reported was from, for non-applicants, reported from the water board and county planning departments. Non-applicants also felt little community pressure to apply, and they believed that their environmental practices were better for the environment than that regulated by government. So there's a potential kind of, you know, the community pressure or the lack of community pressure to apply may reflect, you know, one possibility is that it reflects a broader understanding of the costs of coming into compliance, and just that it's really challenging for folks to overcome those costs. The idea that farmers think their environmental practices are better than that regulated by government could possibly reflect the ways in which farmers are maybe disincentivized to have diversified farming systems if they have to increase their productions amounts in order to overcome the costs of compliance. For those that applied for permits, personal time, consultants, community members, and regulators all helped the process. So those who had more time, more resources to be able to dedicate to the kind of process of navigating the regulatory system seem to be better off in their ability to achieve compliance. So implications, reducing compliance costs. We didn't go into this here, but zoning was also a big barrier to compliance. Interagency coordination to potentially reduce the learning costs associated with coming into compliance. And also innovative forms of outreach might improve compliance. Again, cost, limited market options, and a lack of clear information pose barriers to compliance. Farmers who did not apply were smaller and experienced less outreach. Few farmers felt pressure from their neighbors to comply. So what's at stake with noncompliance? Non-compliant farms appear to support farmers' incomes. So it's possible that, you know, in studies of kind of rural development elsewhere, small scale farms have been seen as an important way to subsidize, you know, otherwise kind of low wage jobs. And small farmer exclusion may also hold implications for rural development and environmental management. Farms and farmers have long been, in other contexts, understood to be important parts of, you know, how environmental activities happen on landscapes and ways in which groups can gain support for their environmental practices.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. I know I have a few questions, but shall we do any commissioner? Did Michael pop in? I thought I saw him pop in. Do any of us, do any commissioners have any questions? On my screen, I'm sorry, everybody. Let me try to fix my screen so I can see proper. Okay, well, I do. I have a few questions. One, I was wondering, you know, I know this wasn't a part of your research, but you definitely, oh, hi, Michael, there he is.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad you joined us. Welcome. You know, I know this isn't specifically what your research was or your survey was about, but I was curious as if just really briefly, if you could give us kind of a snapshot of, from your perspective in your research, of how cannabis legalization has impacted these legacy communities.
Michael, that might be
Yeah,
up your alley.
From a cultural
Um,
perspective, maybe let me hone that in, make it a little smaller of a question.
yeah, because it's big. I mean, there's many,
From
many
a
ways,
human
right?
rights cultural perspective.
From a human rights cultural perspective. Okay. Well, yeah, I've written a fair amount, and I'm happy to share that with the board of some of the history regionally, as well as in other regions. In Siskiyou is also the Sierra Nevada foothills, is another area that I've focused quite a bit on. But yeah, I mean, obviously on the North Coast and in the Emerald Triangle, there's a long history of cannabis production. That I think a lot of the results that we found from the survey, a lot of what Hecky is outlining here is really talking, some of the largest kind of tranches of data that we got were from the North Coast, from Emerald Triangle. So these are people that are struggling, I think, to get into the legal system. And yeah, it's one of kind of through lines of my work, figuring out, how it is that legalization has transformed the equation in a sense. For folks who have been producing for so long. And so one of the kind of background questions that Hecky and I had going into this was really around, are people who have been growing for some time able to make it into the legal system? And obviously the answer is that it's very hard for a lot of people, I think, to make that transition, or even to break in, even as a newcomer or what have you. But obviously that then has a lot of implications for the vulnerabilities that people are experiencing, their ability to kind of make ends meet, in a sense, there's a kind of an odd effect of legalization is that the folks who aren't able to get in then are in some ways left even more vulnerable than they were before, because they have to go maybe take more risks in order to get their product to market, take other kinds of chances that they might not normally wish to. And then just generally, I think one concern we have, and we've actually have a publication in process right now that looks at just the general industrialization of cannabis. And I think one thing we're concerned about is that the structure of the underground market, over the last 50 years, has really been a very dispersed market, in the sense that lots of different producers were able to produce relatively small amounts of cannabis and make a living off of it because of the high prices. And so that kind of, if you will, kind of more democratic structure, more horizontal structure of cannabis production has a potential to be transformed. And one of the things we're kind of tracking with other of our colleagues on the Central Coast and other places is the kind of agglomeration and consolidation of production under kind of through the kind of stacking of licenses, and the emergence of, essentially kind of large, I've been working in Humboldt County for over a decade. So, I mean, and there's a big discussion about big versus small growers, and I think we're still not at the point where we're seeing kind of an agribusiness scale, not by a long shot, but at the same time, compared to the kind of much more horizontal structure, diverse, where a lot of different people are able to participate in production, we are seeing more of a more kind of consolidation and more of a kind of pyramid structure beginning to emerge where folks are, I think smaller folks are struggling to survive in this current environment. So,
how many, just from your perspective and experience, we talk about, we have, a couple different markets that we talk about right now. And I'm curious as to how many of those small farmers were working within the legal medical framework, or were they all just not legal in any way before Proposition 64? What does that look like?
Yeah, we didn't actually ask that specifically in the survey, so I can't speak for that. But every region, of course, has a different history, and I think for reasons of remoteness and kind of the kind of human resources and expertise that was kind of compiled in the North Coast Emerald Triangle, is that obviously there's a different character of cannabis production up there, I think, than say, for instance, another place I studied in the Sierra foothills outside of Stockton near Sacramento, that, there's a relatively large production scene that had arose, but it was really after 215. So there was much more of a medical kind of approach to production, and much more focused on production for patients and patient gardens, and self provisioning medicine for oneself. So and less linked in, I think, with the larger markets that I think folks in Humboldt have more of expertise in.
Okay, thank you. Well, that was informative. That right there. I didn't understand that, although I guess I should have, but I didn't. Do you have any, as we're embarking, we've started a survey as a commission to help kind of get an idea of how people are being impacted right now. Do you have any quick, I want to get through, but do you have any quick words of advice or anything that you feel like you really wish to convey to us before we move on?
Hekia, do you,
I think one interesting question would be to better understand the ways cannabis supports other livelihood activities. I don't know if that's part of maybe what you're able to ask on the survey, but are folks full-time farmers? Are to what extent is small scale forms of cultivation kind of a side income for people in Humboldt? And the extent that it is kind of raises questions about ways that we might think about allowing kind of informal or I don't know, if you're tiered kind of cost structures for those who are producing far less. Maybe some of the administrative hurdles that you have to overcome aren't as extreme if you have a very small garden. But I think efforts to reduce the costs of transforming your landscape to become compliant, those efforts to reduce costs are potentially more politically favorable if we're saying that these are just really, really small farmers that we're trying to support, and that these really small forms of exchange help farmers, become, support their teacher salary and their family or something like that.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering if we have an ad hoc committee around this, if one of you or a few of you or all of you would be willing to come on a Zoom call with that ad hoc committee so we could really dive in. This is a board, so we can only do so much, but if I could reach out to you after this and you could come and visit us through Zoom with the ad hoc committee, we could dig into some deeper questions.
Yeah, I'd be happy to take part in that for sure.
Yay. Okay, thank you. I'll reach out. Bird and Eddie, is it appropriate? Do we do public comment around this, or how does that work?
Yeah, you can open it to public comment at any time you want. And I'm not seeing any public comment right now. I know I've pasted and copied a couple of the comments that we've got on Facebook in our chat with the person's name, but you'll see they're not that relevant to this. So, but there is no. I think one of the comments is how this is relevant to human rights is one of the things that was out there that was asked.
Well, that's why we're doing the survey, right? Because we don't know. We don't know.
One thing I might be able to just interject there is I come from kind of prior to entering academia, I was an economic human rights organizer. And that is one aspect that I think is really pretty relevant here, is the question of, can people kind of make a living and form a livelihood and build kind of healthy communities that help people thrive? And I think that is a connection that if you have an exclusionary system that essentially kind of consolidates, the ability or to be involved, then there's a lot of people excluded. And I think given this historical structure of cannabis in some of these producer communities, the kind of economic well-being of folks is kind of front and center in my mind.
Thank you, Michael. When we get to talk around the ad hoc committee, I think there's a lot of conversation around how do we access that community that you just mentioned. I think that's why no one understands that there's that issue, because that's a voice that isn't easily heard. And so I would definitely like to understand that better, but we do have to move through the agenda. So I really would like to invite you guys to come back to talk to us as an ad hoc committee, so we can just speak more freely, less formally, and like really do some work.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you for coming. We very much appreciate you taking the time. And there was a lot said that I think will help us as a committee moving forward. Erin, did you have a question?
I do. Our next meeting is on the 9th at 4, and I wonder if we could just now invite anyone who wants to join us.
There we go. Great idea.
Okay.
I'll send out an email in the morning so you guys can mark it on your calendars, but that would, if you could attend on the 9th at 4 o'clock, that would be amazing. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, so our next agenda item, we'll move on to the Kindness Ad Hoc Committee. Mary Ann.
So I'm gonna say we haven't done a lot on it, but I would like other people to become engaged with it. But I would like to take the time for the Kindness Committee to bring up something that several people have commented to that are not on the committee and our audience members tonight. And as a teacher and an educator, I think it's really important that it didn't get brought up sooner. And I apologize, I should have thought of it. But the failing grade, the status of Native American education in Humboldt County. That report came out this week, and we really should have had our eyes on the prize. I apologize to the people who are listening in because I'm the teacher on the committee, but I think that that's something that the Human Rights Committee needs to research, look into, and address, because that's a big report that just came out in our county, about our county, by the American Civil Liberties Union, that we're not looking out for our Native American students. How does that have anything to do with the Kindness Committee? I feel like it does, because I feel like if I'm now chairing the Kindness Committee, what I'd like to see the direction of the Kindness Committee doing is not just posting things about kind acts, but finding a way to help other people be kind by bringing things like this forward onto it, because Eddie's the one who sent them, and I waited for my turn, and I said, Eddie, I'm going to throw it in here during my report, so there's a space and time according to the Brown Act to do it. But I think that that is something huge that has just happened in our community, and the report came out, and I think that being on the Kindness Committee includes discovering things like that. And I'd like to ask at least one other board member to be on the Kindness Committee so that we can discover what direction this should go in moving forward. Because I'm alone on it. I mean, Elena's there with it, but
hold on, Marianne, are you speaking to the report that Bird mentioned earlier? Is that what you're referring? No,
I'm not at all. Can I share screen? Am I set to share screen?
Yes, you can share a screen.
Okay, I'm going to share it right now then, because this is huge. Has anybody seen this yet?
What I'm trying to figure out, though, is this something that we talk about as a Kindness Committee, or is this something that maybe should be brought up as new business for a next agenda discussion? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I know, me too. But I agree. I was sending Eddie text because there wasn't a time before this, but we had people outside who are watching this meeting right now who really wanted it brought up. So I said, I will take my time when I'm doing my report on the Kindness Committee to do it, but I don't know where this should go. I think it should go with
I think the commission should be able to review it so we could actually discuss it.
I've already emailed it to you, so can we have it be new business next month then?
We
That's-
we can put it, we can actually request that it be put on the agenda for next month.
I would
But
like
now
that.
it's not the time for that. Now's
I-
not the
but-
time for that discussion.
I knew that it wasn't, but I told Eddie to tell the people on the outside world that I would bring it up in my time. I would wait patiently instead of interjecting sooner. So
Okay.
Eddie, hello to all the people out there. And yes, could we have this be? And I'm going to look further into it so I could do a report on it because I'm.
But I would rather have it be not that we threw it up on the screen, but that we actually like get to read it and have it, because it is important. I agree with you completely, but I think it's so important that we should be able to digest it and discuss it. Yes, Larry.
I do. And Aaron suggested it.
Hold on, Larry.
You did good, Aaron. You suggested that I make it be, but I had to bring it up now to do it.
Yeah, I'm afraid, I'm actually concerned that we're not, according to the Brown Act, I don't think we're allowed to discuss this now.
That's
No,
what I'm
I agree
concerned
with
about.
that.
Larry,
Thank you,
can we hold on, everybody? Can we please do this in order? Thank you. Larry, would you like to speak?
Yes, I was just going to say that study was published in the last journal, a complete
Yep.
description of it. And so I encourage people to get the last journal and take a look at it. It's quite good.
Thanks, Larry. Is there anything else to report around the kindness committee?
Nope.
All right, let's move on. Carol, I saw a text from Carol. The next item on the agenda is the Racism and Cultural Awareness Ad Hoc Committee. Is there any way that Carol is able to speak to us on that?
And if not, we can support her.
Okay, great. David, would you, since you stepped in, have you been participating in those meetings? Can you give us an update of what you guys are up to?
Indeed. We excuse me, I apologize. We had a good meeting last week where we actually also, it was Bird who brought up this, the ACLU's Northern California's report on what's happening locally with the indigenous students. And so that was discussed in our committee. But the main things that we discussed during that committee were how we're going to be approaching the Yurok tribe. And as Carol put in the chat, that's happening on November 18th at 1:30 p.m. And it's basically going to be to get involved, to get the tribe's voice involved with the listening sessions that we have coming up, and to get open communication set up between us and them, so that way we can get information and help support the tribe. And so that's pending. We also, to my recollection, and Bird, please feel free, of course, to jump in if I'm saying anything wrong or incorrect from our meeting, because we also discussed, I think it was just generally like how to work with the racism committee to bring about change in the community, and that being us going to education and going to school boards to get them involved. Is that correct, Bird? Was I right? Am I right there?
I think so. I think what we were talking about was individuals who indicate they have lived in a bubble, and therefore they don't feel that they've had as much experience with people who are different from them, and that they need education about this, even if they're trying to be less prejudiced and to get rid of racism in themselves. That what we need to do is to help educate them into how to do that. And I think, David, you brought up the whiteness
within events, yes. And
yeah, so go ahead with that.
Oh, thank you. And that's actually, I had brought that up because that's actually Monique. She's doing the labor there for the community to provide the community with those events, the whiteness within events. Monique, would you be able to speak to them at all?
Yeah. So I'll just explain what it is and how people can get involved. Okay, so it's ultimately a workshop. We call it the Whiteness Within because it's looking at white supremacy culture and how it creates unintentional harm towards Black and brown bodies, and how a lot of our society is just built through white supremacy culture, and it creates these infrastructures that create barriers for Black and brown people. And it also creates a mindset of kind of societal norms that people have accepted as our culture in this country that actually causes a lot of harm. So it does a lot of self-reflecting for individuals. And, everyone's experience is different. We've had people take it multiple times, but it's ultimately a 5-hour workshop broken up into, or excuse me, a 4-hour workshop broken up into 2 days. You take it alongside other community members. It is for anybody in the community, but we emphasize that white-bodied people, that includes white passing BIPOC identities, get involved and check out this workshop. I can put, right now, we're kind of like a group of individuals that took on this work. Cooperation Humboldt supports the workshop. So we kind of only have a Facebook event, which I put in the chat, but I wish I had like a reel of people's responses because everyone has a different response, but everyone finds that it's very helpful to start their journey in anti-racist work and looking at their own behaviors and how they enact white supremacy culture and white supremacist ideals just through our own societal norms that we've learned growing up in America.
Thank you, Monique, and thanks for the great work. Hard work.
Thank you, Monique.
But great work. David, did you, I sent Carol, oh, go ahead, Larry.
I was just going to say, I think one of the other things that was discussed at the committee was an extension of our mandate to extend it to 3 or 6 more months.
Okay.
Thank you, Larry. We forgot that, didn't we, David?
Yes, thank you, Larry.
Okay, so Larry, are you motioning that we extend the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee for another 6 months?
Yes.
I second.
All right, any discussion? All right.
It might be something a little bit different, but the discussion is that Marley Jarvis, a person who's listening in, said that she thinks that the ACLU report would fit better under the committee you have to address racism.
Yeah.
Which is this committee, correct? But
Yep.
I just want to throw it in there. I wanted to say that.
And David mentioned it, actually.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think that this, if we're not able to address this in a meaningful way right now, we definitely want to put this on the new business for the next meeting. If I would just want to add my own comment, I think that it's, after reading the actual report from the ACLU, it's pretty obscene. And I think it's just plain and simply laying out the anti-Indigenous racism that exists in this county. I think that we need to address this in a meaningful way at the County Board of Supervisors level, at the City Council level, and also among other entities, specifically potentially, school boards that may be able to have a direct impact in mitigating this, because we cannot let this legacy, continue in this county. We cannot do that. And so I personally would like to see the commission do as much as possible to, get this in front of the County Board of Supervisors in a way that will create some change.
Well, I think that's great. I think, it sounds like that's what the committee, by extending the committee, that you guys can come back to us with some actionable items that we could do something like that. So what I'm hearing in this discussion, you guys, I just want to circle back so we can have closure before the end of the meeting, is that we're going to take that item that Mary was discussing during Humboldt Kindness. And Mary, you and the you could share that information with David and this committee, and they'll, it kind of fits within what they're focused on, it sounds like. Right? Okay, sounds good.
Monique had her hand up, Lelania. Monique had her hand up.
Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry, Monique.
My hand wasn't up. I was giving an applaud.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
All right. All right. Is there any, Larry?
Were you going to make a motion to extend the commission?
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't any more discussion.
Okay.
All right. We all those in favor? All right. Larry Miller, Aaron Rowe, Bird Lochte, Eddie?
Yes, I'm in favor. I'm sorry, I was just doing something else.
Eddie Morgan, Lelania Dubois, and Monique. All right. Any objections? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, let's.
I'll turn on my video any day for my baby girl.
So we have approved to, what is the date that we're extending this committee to? Did we?
I think it was June 2021.
Okay.
Right, Larry?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you. All right, our next committee is Citizens Observer and Ad Hoc Committee. This committee is expiring. Committee members.
So first of all, I'd like to extend it because I think there's a lot of work that we can do. There's a lot of conversation for the Citizen Observer Ad Hoc Committee. It's just going to take more time. So my first request is to extend it. And we've been working on the different plans. And right now for this particular time period, I don't have anything to report on that. So, but my only request is that we extend it. I would make that motion.
All right, you're making a motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I
Second that.
All right, and discussion? So I have a question, you guys. I understand you wanting to extend it, but my concern around that is a lot hasn't happened and it's been difficult connecting with Humboldt Area Foundation, and we have a lot going on, you know, issues at the table. So would it be better to maybe circle back to this later when we are able to connect and actually do something instead of holding place like this? Or do you feel like there's going to be action that you're going to be able to take within the next few months?
I think this particular committee is going to take some time, and it doesn't take that much time. It's just getting the dots connected, and you know, sometimes during certain periods it's just hard to get everybody together, and so I think we should keep it on, and it's okay to say that no progress is made. I see us working on this for the next year and a half. I mean, the intent at the end of the day is to have a group of people that we feel comfortable sending out to look at a protest or at a demonstration and report that to the public, and the public trust them. That's at the end of the day, that's the objective. And that's going to take a lot of coordination.
Larry, I saw your hand go up.
I was just going to say this, you know, the way the world is at this point in time, the incredible polarization that is occurring, the election, and you know, all the potential that is around that. This is a very important need, and if you know, we really have unfortunately not moved very far forward. Part of that is because the members of the committee have not been able to meet as much as we would like, and you know, I think there are some other organizations out there in the community that are like-minded and are working towards the development of observer programs as well. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, and I certainly concur with Eddie in terms of wanting to extend it.
Do you need more support on the committee, or is it just timing?
I think it's time, at least from my point of view, it's timing. I mean, this last month, month and a half, there had a couple of glitches, and it's timing for me. And I foresee, I see that not being an issue, at least for myself, in the future.
All right, thanks, you guys. Aaron?
I would concur with both you, Lelania, that our plate is pretty full, and also with Larry that it's just too dangerous right now. And I would vote to disband it and come back when when we have time to focus on it.
All right, any more discussion? David?
If I could add a couple points, I do definitely think that with the current climate in the country, that it is definitely dangerous. I also want to add that I think that there are people in the community that want to do this work. I've talked to these people. The problem that exists is one of the same problems that we kind of come up with on the commission here sometimes, where in which this is unpaid work. And that legal observation work would be unpaid work too, where you potentially, right, putting yourself in harm's way. How many protests are happening locally is a question. And, is there, how can we get the right people that want to do the work involved, get the communication out there to them, pull them in and get them involved? Those are my only points.
All right, thank you, David. Anyone else? Marianne, did you have something to add? Oh, Aaron?
Yeah, I was on this committee also, and and Eddie asked me to do some research, and I found that the National Lawyers Guild gives free trainings for observers, and I agree, and that's a really good idea to connect with the right other organization who does it.
So how long of an extension are you guys asking for right now? What if we did a shorter extension to see if some movement happened? And if not, then, and if we don't, then we revisit in a few months.
I think that looking, and not everything has to move quickly. Good things sometimes take time. And so, I think if we did that, it would be more likely to kill it. So I'm looking at the long range here. I'm looking at 6 months, and
I understand that, Eddie, but we have so little bandwidth right now is my concern. And even though there's not, to do a lot, it still takes bandwidth away from other things like the town hall meeting and other things we're trying to do. So that's my concern is that, that's 2 more committee members that could be on other committees doing something. If this committee isn't moving, but it sounds like the committee itself feels like it has more work to do, is what I'm hearing. Well, any more discussion?
Yeah.
Aaron?
How long have we been together as a group, and how many times have we met so far?
I want to say we've had this committee for 5 months, and we've met
once, I think, or if even once.
No. We've met more than once. We've met 4 times, but it's been very intermittent. And we went for a period where it was a computer thing, and then it was a scheduling thing. So I'm just saying this particular project will take time, and the chair is correct. If our passions are somewhere else, then maybe we should just close it. But I do think it's very relevant to what's going on, and it would be a good thing to have 2 or 3 years from now.
I think it's something that we should have. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I just think that with COVID and we have, coming down, there's just a lot with homelessness. We have a lot happening in our county right now. And it doesn't seem like protests are at the top of that concern at the moment. you know, I do think it's something that as a commission is of value to us, but it's just timing. Yes, Bird?
I want a clarification. Are you asking for 6 months?
That is correct. I am asking for 6 months.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Any more discussion?
Can you repeat?
What we're voting on
What we're
is
voting on? What are we
to
voting on?
continue the to continue this committee for another 6 months. And this committee's task is to build an observation committee. Or I didn't say that right, but I'm sorry. It's so we have public observers. And Eddie's asking to push it for another 6 months. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have Eddie, yes. Larry, yes. David, yes. Mary, yes. Monique, yes. All right. And then those nays. Bird, no. Aaron, no. And I'm going to vote no. Any abstains? No. All right. It looks like you guys get your committee for another 6 months.
I think it's interesting that a couple of people that are on the committee voted against the continuing. So what that means is that we either get other committee people or do a vote again, because if we don't, I mean, we need to have people on the committee. So that goes back to that bandwidth thing.
Okay, so Aaron, are you wishing to step away from the committee if it continues for another 6 months, or are you still willing to participate?
I would participate. But the likelihood is that we're not going to be able to do anything in the next 6 months. But if something happens, sure, I'm happy to participate.
Does that give you more confidence, Eddie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask how many people are on the committee?
3.
Okay.
And Bird, I'm sorry, Bird was a participant, but she is not on the committee. She helped with some of the things. Is that correct, Bird?
I'm not actually on the committee. No.
Exactly. You're not on the committee, but
That's right. I'm not actually on the committee.
but you did participate.
Which
So
I gave you, but
yeah, my bad.
yeah, I gave you some ideas.
Yes.
That's okay.
If I was to make a quick suggestion, I really think that a good path would be to potentially use social media to get some kind of an advertisement out there to people, to let them know that we're looking for potentially some local citizen observers. And then like Aaron was talking about with the NLGs, with the National Lawyer Guild's trainings being free, let's link them up. That's my suggestion.
Part of that suggestion, my concern with that is this is that there's a lot of legalities around this. And I think before we start doing any outreach, we need to really have had all these discussions and have a protocol lined up of what we're going to do, and then go into outreach. Because as Aaron mentioned, there are a lot of legal issues around this, and we want to make sure that before we bring the community in and start training them, that we really know what we're going to do first. Does that make sense, David?
Indeed.
All right. All right. Is there any more discussion around this, or can we move on to the next item? We're almost there, you guys. Thanks for hanging in there with me. All right. The last committee conversation is the town hall meeting and listening sessions, and I can kind of, go through that fairly quickly.
Lelania, are we skipping the digital accessibility ad hoc committee?
Oh, I didn't mean to. Thank you. I will go back. Sorry. Digital accessibility ad hoc committee. Eddie.
Yes, so we've made the progress on that. We've had some newer dashboards, which I've shown you in that area, and we've been working on the we have the working closely with the listening session and how we're going to track that and how we're going to get that information in. So we've been moving forward on that. So that's the report I have to report.
All right, thank you, Eddie. Does anyone on the committee have anything to add? All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is the town hall meeting and listening sessions. Yay, I'm hoping that this is gonna help us with a lot of our agenda items this event. So we decided December 10th and 11th and 12th. December 10th will be Southern Humboldt. And this will all be done virtually like we're doing now. December 11th will be Eastern Humboldt, and December 12th will be Northern Humboldt. We already have some confirmations of attendance. Sheriff Hansel has confirmed that he will be attending. He hasn't confirmed which ones he will attend, but he has confirmed that he will attend at least one. Supervisor Madrone has also confirmed that he will be attending the December 12th meeting, and Supervisor Bass has also confirmed that she will be attending, but not which exact date she will be attending. And what we need, we've had some commissioners get out some emails. David, I know Bird has. We got the PR out to the different news source. No, we don't have that out yet. I was going to wait till after this meeting. Next week, all the PR will go out for it. And then what we need from all of you guys is just to really make sure that you outreach and you talk to people and we get people to participate. And they're going to be able to participate either via Zoom, or again, I think what we're going to do with this event is do it on YouTube because it can be more engaging that way, as far as conversation for the community. And as commissioners, what we really want to focus on is talking about our agenda items. I sent you all the agenda, but then for the second half, we really want to listen. And we're going to need at each meeting, we're going to need someone to take notes. We're going to need someone to moderate the feeds of where people are communicating with us. And so those are, as you guys are figuring out when you can participate, you might also suggest where you could support in those roles. Any questions? Bird.
I will moderate the one that I'm on.
Yes, thank you.
I would also moderate one if it's a different one. Or a different time. I'll probably be on just for the afternoon half.
Okay.
It's still going on.
Yeah, if you're not going to be able to be there the whole time, Aaron, it would probably, yeah, be better if someone else moderated the meeting. Okay, and then if you could all please, you need to attend at least one. We can only have, is it 4? Bird, are we at 4? We can only have 4. We do have another commissioner who is going to be appointed within the next few days, actually. I saw her pop in briefly. Her name is Lisa Sundberg. It hasn't happened quite yet, but I did get a email from Steve Madrone saying that he was processing her as we speak. So would that allow us to have 5 commissioners, Bird?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No, our quorum is 5. We cannot have a quorum.
Okay.
Unless you call this a regular meeting and have it under Brown Act and agendas and everything. If you do that, we can have as many as we want.
Right, but then we're not able to have as much as a conversation in a listening session either, are we? Or
of course we are. We just set our agenda.
As
long as the agenda tells the public what we're doing and we follow the agenda, we're fine. But you have to send the agenda out and publicize it exactly the same way. And we cannot discuss anything that's not on the agenda, but we don't want to do that anyway. We want to make it very clear we're just listening to them.
Well, we want to be able to discuss what we have on our regular agenda, but then we want to listen and we want to be able to discuss whatever the community brings to discuss. We want to be able to engage in those conversations with them.
Well, then you can't do that unless it's not a regular meeting. At least that's my understanding, that you can't do that. You have to, it has to be part of it. But I thought the idea of this was just to listen and not discuss it. Listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, but we want to be able to respond to questions and engagement. You know, we don't want to just feel like we can't discuss that with you. Because the idea is to give space for the community to have to connect with us and to engage, and for us to listen. But we do want to be able to respond.
Then we can have no more than 4.
Okay. All right. So if everyone could please get signed up for that, if you haven't already, and if you have any questions, just reach out to me and we'll make sure that you are signed up. All right, any questions? I don't think we have any more.
Shane, I put in the comments a comment that Shane had put on the Facebook. Maybe a town hall event can be partnered with the radio on this event.
Well, we have a couple committee members that are actually a part of Access Humboldt, and what we're really hoping, they weren't able to make it to the last meeting, but production is our next agenda item. And that we were hoping that Access Humboldt will be a part of that, so we can do all those things. But we have not been able to really discuss that yet as a committee. So yes, but we just haven't gotten there yet. Hopefully within the next week we will. Any more discussion around this item? Okay. Next agenda item is unfinished business. And last month we talked about Human Rights Awareness Month coming up. And oh, I'm sorry. Wait, yes. And Bird, you mentioned a film that you were going to look into.
Yes, I did. It was the Eleanor Roosevelt part of the President's Wives, because she was the one who served on the Human Rights Commission for the UN. Unfortunately, it belongs to CNN, and it is not yet one that they will allow anybody else to produce. Right now, Keat does not have the ability to get it and show it for us. And I did send an email to the CNN thing where I first got the information about this, and they did not even respond to me. So obviously they are not going to let somebody else use it. However, I do have another idea about what we might do here, and it maybe fits right in with what Sean was saying about their radio station. I was talking with a friend today, and her idea was, I was asking if she thought that maybe a radio station would allow somebody to read our proclamation on the radio, or to read the UN Proclamation of Human Rights. And she suggested that we send, or Lelania, you send an invitation to every radio station in the county, asking them if they will do it themselves or let one of us do it. And then that we later, acknowledge all the radio stations that did let us do this to get the information out there. So I think that's a really great idea, and I'd like to suggest that maybe we think about doing that.
I think that's a great idea as well. Mary?
When I do that, that's clapping. That's not a hand raise, but I love that idea. Yeah, those are clappings or something.
Okay.
But Bert, it's a great idea, and I applaud that idea. It's brilliant.
Is that something, Bird, that I can just put together and make happen really quick, or is that something that we need to create a committee around? And
if the commission agrees it's a good idea, you can do it. However, once I started thinking about that, I looked very carefully at the proclamation that you sent out for us to look at. And mine has an awful lot of red ink on it because there are a lot of changes that should be made in it. So I don't think we're ready to send it out. But I think that's just proofing and so forth that just needs to be done on this. I don't want to change the sense of what we're doing, but we need to update it so that the kindness committee is, for the next year. But also some of the wording is pretty bad, and I would like to have us clean that up. So I would offer to clean that up and then send it to you if you would like.
Absolutely. It's actually, I sent it to everybody. So if anyone had any suggestions, this is a proclamation that we read to the Board of Supervisors, the City Council, and it goes out every year. So the reason I sent it to you with the link is so that everyone could add comments or input. Bird, if we want to get this to the Board of Supervisors by December and out, is this something that we need to approve? Because we're going to have to approve it. So I'm wondering, like, timeline around that.
Well, I don't. We've already approved this. What I'm saying is that we should. I'm cleaning up the language. For example, the Human Kindness Campaign, and then that's just sitting there. Then during this time, we advocate for special civic engagement to occur, personal reflection to take place, and then I want to say continued efforts to educate the public, and a community effort to use kindness instead of hate, regardless of personal perceptions and political views. And then I'm going to stop that sentence and have a new sentence, but it's really just grammar and stuff that I'm doing for you.
I got it.
I'm not changing the sense of anything.
Got it. Erin?
I, for some reason, didn't get that, but Bird, if you want to split that, I'll do half of the document. I don't know how long it is. Can't be that long.
Oh, no, it's just one page.
Oh, right.
I read.
Okay.
I mean, I'll send it to you too, Erin. I'll send it to Lelania and Erin tonight.
Okay.
And then you can, if you want to change anything else, Erin, that's fine too. And then Lelania, if you can get it out within the next week, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And then I'll talk to you about how to do that with the Board of Supervisors, because that's where I get a little, I haven't addressed them yet as chair for something like this. So I'll need some support in that.
I think you have to talk to Kathy, is it, about being on the agenda? And then you will probably want to send the wording of this to them. She'll help you with it. She's done this forever.
Right.
So she'll help you with it.
Any more discussion around this, anyone? No? All right.
So
okay, so Bird, go ahead, Bird.
Do we need a consensus that we're going to have Lelania contact all radio stations to have it read online on air if possible?
Should we vote on all those in favor? Erin, Larry, David, Eddie, Lelania, Monique,
and Marianne.
And Marianne. Okay. Well, she was clapping. I wasn't.
You have to use the thumbs up for the vote.
All right. Any objections? Any abstentions? All right. Looks like that's what we're doing. Great. All right. On new orders of business, and I want to thank Winchell for his patience waiting on this. I reached out, I was looking at our schedule, and this month is National Hunger and Homelessness Month, and next month is also Homelessness Memorial Month. And I looked up to see who actually was doing something last year around this, and the organization AHHA did something. So I reached out and I spoke to them, and they sent us, they're actually going to like we will with Human Rights Awareness Month, they're going around this month to the city councils, to the Board of Supervisors, and they've put together a really great proclamation and would like us to write a letter in support of it. And so I sent everyone that, go ahead, Bird.
I just wanted to be sure that they made a couple of corrections in it. And the very last, now therefore be it proclaimed, it should be November 15th, 2020 instead of 2019. And I believe that Estelle Fennel has 2 L's in her last name.
Okay.
And, otherwise, I would move that we support this proclamation.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Okay, Larry. Open for discussion. Is this when I could invite Winchell in to discuss? All right, Winchell, you are on.
Muted. Hello.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
I can answer questions. This is the 3rd year that AHA has taken on this proclamation. And the primary purpose is to raise awareness of hunger and homelessness, which is an ongoing problem. And was really developed out of the fact that particularly there's been no substantial action that has been backed up by the grand jury reports. And so we keep bringing it to the table to make them aware constantly, because as you know, we're coming into almost 3 years of the shelter crisis and nothing has happened. We've seen the Housing Trust Fund and Homeless Solutions Committee has not had a dime put into their account. And it took them over 2 years to get even bylaws passed by the Board of Supervisors. So we continue to press for this issue. In the meantime, as you may be aware, AHA stands for Affordable Homeless Housing Alternatives. And we are the ones who are now running the showers for the homeless, the mobile shower. So we are in Eureka, Arcata, McKinleyville, and in Southern Humboldt in Redway, providing showers in addition to feeding them, which is one of the issues, giving them clothes. We have also had support from Humboldt Area Foundation to have community liaisons and cell phones to try, particularly in these times, during COVID, it's been very problematic. It's very difficult, as we all know, living in this age. So, and we continue to ask for what the grand jury has, is the fact that we've not seen safe parking, we've not seen legal sanctioned camps, and we've not seen tiny house villages. And we've seen tons of other communities around us make this happen in various different ways. So there's tremendous, I know there's a lack of political will and there's a huge NIMBYism problem. So we are continuing, we're running the campaign for the month. We're contacting all of the public officials to continue to try to get somewheres. It's a frustrating problem, and I'm amazed that AHA's been here since 2014, and I've been on the board for 3.5 years, and been to many public meetings advocating. So we appreciate support, and we will be working on this consistently because we're coming into another winter and there aren't any solutions.
Winchell, I'd like to invite you and your organization to come back next month because it is Homelessness Memorial Month, and maybe you could give us a presentation if the commission agrees to on what is going to be happening, what you see, because I had a very interesting conversation with you guys the other day around the next 6 months in spring and what happens when COVID and all these hotels are no longer allowing folks to stay and people have to pay the back rent and all those issues.
Yeah, and we're more than likely, I spoke with our president, Nezzy, who really, takes charge on the memorial, and she will come back and speak to you if you so desire. She's our president, and she's just tireless.
Thank you.
A real face.
There you are. Yeah.
And I do think, and my concern, is that the longer people are on the street, the chances of them coming back are, in my opinion, nil. And so we have to get, if we don't start to solve this problem, then more and more people are going to fall. And my fear right now is with COVID, and you said all the people that are in motels are coming back out, not to mention that we're in an economic slowdown. They've seen in the nation that the below 25% have gotten just demoralized. And so my fear is more people might drop into homelessness, if you're not getting help with your rent and you have to make it up. I could tell you, I ran consumer credit counseling for 30 years. People catching up just on their credit cards and housing, people with virtually no money are just not going to do it. So I fear is that more and more people are going to drop into being unhoused in the community. And I wish that we would have more action. I know it's a tough problem. I know that Humboldt County doesn't have all of the resources, but I certainly think we can do a lot better on this issue. When I got involved, I read the Eradicating 2005 report, and here we are, 15 years later.
Well, I think, as a commission, we all understand in a sense. Some of us have personal experiences. So thank you for inviting us to support you in this proclamation. And I look forward to maybe we can find some more things to support each other on. And hopefully we can do this next month. Yes, David.
I wanted to just add, I'm really thankful that this discussion is happening. It's dismaying to hear what Winchell's discussing, in that there's been not a whole lot of movement with this, and it's really scary, because I think a factor that a lot of people aren't considering is that with the COVID crisis and it affecting housing for a lot of people, there's a lot of newly houseless people in the community, and if you've ever been houseless, surviving the first winter is difficult. Learning the survival skills that you have to be able to survive a winter houseless is not easy, and we know, as we've seen in years past, that every single year in our country, people freeze to death in the winter from houselessness. And I'm really worried that countrywide, we're going to see a lot more people freezing this winter because of those couple things. And so I'd really like to see the County Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, other groups that can make a difference actually push to see tiny housing get built in this community, in our county, to help mitigate this crisis as much as possible. It would be horrible to see people freeze to death and die in Humboldt County.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
It's good to be around a supportive group. We've gotten a lot of bad press, I think. We have been, because we're one of the groups that have pushed really hard.
Eddie?
I have a question for, so the civil grand jury has done some excellent reports, in my opinion, about the homeless issue and everything like that. And then then they send out questions or answers to different departments. Have you been tracking the answers that the different county and city have given to the reports? Because the reports are usually written to the supervisors and the different departments. Have you had any thoughts on the answers that they've given?
Yeah, I don't think I think they kind of double talked in their answers, from the most part, from what I've seen. Which is unfortunate. It's the one thing I'm appreciative. I live in the 5th district, and so I have Steve Madrone now, and he is probably the sole big supporter on the Board of Supervisors. I was highly surprised, to be honest, with the Eureka City Council, which proclaimed to have all these 3 progressives get elected, and nothing's really happened in Eureka either to solve the problem. from the standpoint, what I don't understand, especially in Old Town, if we want to really promote economics in Old Town, you'd think people would want to clean up and find places, because tourism is one of our economic drivers up here, you know. And economics, we live in a tough community. And, you know, I listened to the discussion on the marijuana and that's just, you know, we saw what the legalization initially did, crippled a lot of businesses. And you know, I'm fearful that economics will hurt us. So I don't think there's been appropriate responses that have led to any real solutions.
Thank you, Winchell. Commissioners, David? You're on mute, David.
One last point. Sorry for taking more space up. I want to add that we've seen other countries address houselessness. We've seen Finland recently address and actually end houselessness in their country. And I know, right, we're not Finland, etc. But you know, I firmly believe that houselessness is a political decision. And so I'm thankful for the work that AHA is doing in this community. Thank you, Winchell.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Erin.
I do have one last question. I'm already noticing a lot more houseless people on the plaza. And everyone I talk to is kind of having mental health issues. And I'm wondering how this community is being affected by mental health wise.
Yeah, mental health is a huge issue. And that's the other coupling thing. We need mental health and alcohol. We need much more. I think there's a perception that everybody on the street is a drug addict. I unfortunately was listening to your Eureka meeting, and that's the way the police really look at this issue is, oh, you know, we've got to be in there, you know, because they're all drug addicts. And that's far from true. Although I would say this, if anybody spent, and I heard the comment about if you spend a winter and could almost die, I think that it can drive you to drugs. If you spend too much time on the streets, it's going to turn you into that because the conditions are so tough, you know.
So, you know, we have a full agenda, but there's a lot of discussion already around this. Maybe this is something, I know we had it on our agenda for quite a few years, but COVID has changed some things. And the next item on our agenda is future agenda items. You know, we might want to consider putting this back on our agenda again and actually like maybe working with AHA on this in some way.
Yeah, we certainly encourage it.
All right, maybe we can discuss that next month.
I would say that the reason it's so hard out there under COVID with the homeless has because the lack of political response to solve the problem before. And so now during COVID, it's really exposed everything in our cultures out there. It's exposed the homeless issue, the economic issue. It's exposed our healthcare system. And I think, you know, when Finland was brought up, for example, you know, socialism is this dirty word, but there's a lot where people can get income, childcare, education. We are far behind the rest of the Western world, and we don't rank very well. And it disturbs me. I love America, but I'm just really not feeling good about where a huge part of our political system is and its ability to solve these problems at times. You know, fortunately, we have a lot of good people like you and me and AHA, and there are a lot of people fighting this. And my hat's off to everybody.
All right. Thank you, Winchell, for coming and discussing with us and helping enlighten us in what's happening now. All right, commissioners, we're on to our very last agenda item. Do we have any future agenda items after today's discussion that we would like to add? Yes, Erin.
Well, certainly, we're going to talk about the indigenous education issue.
I think what we did is
Put it into
the
the committee.
cultural racism, cultural awareness committee is going to get the information that Mary Ann had, and they're going to dive into that issue.
Okay, well, maybe they'll have time to report something to us by then.
That was what we hope.
Also, if I may make a request that we have just one outside presenter per meeting. Sorry to whine, but we're going on to 2.5 hours and it's hard for me to sit still this long.
Yes, we can. Yeah, I think we can do that.
Yes. I got to go put my sheep in the barn, so hurry up.
Okay. Hey, you guys knew I was going to drive us hard.
The result of all your hard work, it is. My hat's off to you.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. I think it is 7:16 p.m. And if no one else has any more items or to add, I would like to close our meeting, our monthly meeting at 7:16 p.m. And thank you, everybody, for coming and participating. And hopefully we'll have more problems solved next month. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Good
we're
work.
off live. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Good night.